wave your hands. Ayan. My team, ayan. So we actually recently created a community via Facebook group. So to also help transform people to become empowered, holistic leaders. So basically, this community is where we can connect, share learning opportunities like this, conduct exclusive webinars inside the group, or create networking activities where we can all connect or just spread positive, blissful energy with each other. So just to plug and share, my invitation is, if you like this type of organization and culture, I personally am inviting you to please join our Facebook group. Just type in Holistic Entrepreneurs. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to be part of this. You just have to be willing to open yourself up to bliss and abundance. So yeah, or you can also just connect with me on Facebook and Instagram. It's at Coach Yani Moya. And if you have questions, you can just message me. I'll reply anytime, as soon as I can. And lastly, this webinar is actually live on my Facebook page. So again, I'm inviting you to please share them. It's live on my page, on Coach Jill's page, on Ayin's page, and Aquest page. If you're part of Aquest, it's also there. So just please share it so that we can spread positive and happy vibrations all over the world. So yeah, okay. So last Sunday, we had a very, very successful run of the first webinar about learning how to cope with fear, anxiety, and stress. May I see a show of hands of those who were there and who were able to watch it on my FB Live? Can I see? Ay, ang dami. So, okay. Thank you so much again for being here. It's so nice. A lot of eye openers. That it's okay to not be okay. Some of you maybe open their awareness around how to manage our emotional and mental stresses and triggers better. Some naman message that they were really moved with the EFT and I Am Enough practice by SAPS. And I also got messages saying that they actually started to create habits around the learning. So I'm really, really happy about it. To me, that what makes it successful, this webinar, is if we got to transform people's lives. And based on the overwhelming feedback that we got, I think we did. So, palakpakan nyo naman. Ayan, thank you. And yeah, what better way to follow that very moving session after learning how to release these negative emotions? I think it's time for us to step into happiness and self-love. Maybe I wanna know what's the first word you can think of when you hear the word happiness. So go ahead, type it in the chat box. The first word that comes into your mind when you hear the word happiness. Ayan. To me personally, happiness is love, freedom, and bliss. I associate it to love simply because when people are loved, parang they are happier. Whether this love is coming from themselves or others, they are generally happier, right? And freedom, because I think of it as parang childlike. When kids are always happy, and they're happy because they are generally free. Parang free naman sila to do anything. And isn't it when you see kids, they are always just smiling and they make you smile as well. And number three, of course, is bliss for me, of course, creates happiness. And when you are in a state of gratitude, you're just more likely to be much, much happier. And of course, ayan, ang daming inputs. Basahin ko nga. Mindfulness, happiness is God's love, peace of mind, fulfillment, belief. I love your inputs, contentment, yeah, dami ko. Positive vibes, yeah, being one with nature, tranquility, passion, I love it. How about self-love, guys? What comes into your mind when you think of the word, or when you hear the word self-love? What's the word in your mind? Ayan. Sabi kasi ng mga Gen X, 'di ba? It's a very millennial term. But to me, self-love allowed me to be at my happiest state. Before, I thought I needed to be sexy or be in a romantic relationship or have all the money in the world to be happy. But after my 1-year journey of just loving myself in all aspects of my life, I became so much happier and content, like you said, with my life and most especially myself. And I think that's the best thing and best feeling, simply being happy because of the love that I give myself. Ayan. So this afternoon, you are in a treat. Ang ganda ng mga self-love is acceptance of true self, being my real self. Self-love is acceptance, prioritizing oneself. I love it. Ang dami acceptance. I love it. Thank you. So yeah, you're in for a treat this afternoon because we are only gonna be talking about the best two things, which is happiness and self-love. Very simple yet important topic, right? Ganyan pala. Ayan. So are we all ready? Are we all ready? Okay, so the way we start our learning sessions is to hear the wins of each other. However, just so we can save time, we will be hearing the wins of our speakers instead. So without further ado, let's start. Our first sharer is our panelist. She is a certified holistic life coach focused on supporting individuals find more clarity and gain better self-awareness to achieve happier relationships, fulfilling endeavors, and wealth in all aspects of their lives. Personally, this coach inspires me a lot with what and how she does things. Ayan. When I see her, para siyang walking good vibes because of the happy energy that she vibrates. And I mean, just looking at her with her beautiful smile, that's also very contagious. Sasaya ka na agad eh. So yeah, let's give a warm welcome to my very beautiful friend and colleague, Coach Jill Ang.
Thank you so much, Yanni. It's so nice to see everyone. We're almost 100 in this Zoom session plus 10,000 sa Facebook live streaming. Malapit na mag 1 million. So I love the intro. I love the videos. If you were here before we officially started, I love the reminders about self-love, confidence, and courage, even happiness and joy. Siguro I'd just like to share what I'm most grateful for during this lockdown. It's really being able to also develop my inner strength. I rely on the internal rather than the external events or circumstances to make myself happy. And I've always equated happiness actually with joy. It's something that I choose, not something that I wait for me to happen. And I think because of that constant practice now, taking good care of what's happening internally, my thoughts, my emotions, my moods, lalo na mga babae, alam niyo yan, pa-shift-shift ang mood, lalo na pagdating ng bisita every month, diba? So I guess it's really being more aware, more of what's happening, what I'm feeling, being able to acknowledge it, embrace it, and have that conscious choice to move forward to joy, happiness, bliss. And I guess I've been doing a lot of things different during this lockdown. Me also stepping into courage, confidence as well, as I go on a lot of live streamings like this, and also going into Kumu app. So if you're in Kumu, please follow and listen to Jill Ang as well. All of those things, no matter how big or small, it's a practice of me stepping into courage and confidence, and me just saying that I really appreciate the journey that I'm in right now, and lalo na I'm waiting for a new life in a few months' time. So yes, I'm in my second trimester now. Yes, surprise, surprise sa mga hindi pa alam, huli kayo sa balita. Yeah, but it's really amazing to be, being able to practice all of these things, having this support group, because I know that by doing so, I'm also taking good care and, establishing the good belief systems as early as, the second trimester with the life that I'm carrying. So, yeah, so many things to be happy and grateful about. I love to be sharing with you as well, with Ayn, with Yanni later on. But right now, I think I'm rambling already. I'm turning it back to you, Yanni. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Coach Jill, and what a wonderful surprise. Congratulations. I know around late last year, pinagdadasal natin yan together, and I'm so happy you have magkakaroon na po ng mas madaming Jill and madaming magba-vibrate ng happiness and beauty. Oh, ayan, all over the world. So thank you so much, Coach Jill, for sharing your inspiring wins. And I can resonate to it kasi babae din po ako, pero hindi naman po. Okay. So, so yeah, I like being reminded of the small things that we can be grateful for because of the wins that you said. So thank you so much, Coach Jill. Yeah, so can I see some thumbs up if you were, or hearts if you were inspired by Coach Jill's sharing? Yeah, me too. Ang ganda niya, no? So yeah, I think we are ready to start with our main speaker. So to share her wins and her story, let's start. Our main speaker is a Filipina digital content creator, writer, and entrepreneur. Her YouTube channel, Sunkissed Somewhere, she vlogs about travel, lifestyle, and confidence, and advocates for skin color positivity. She's the brown girl behind Morena the Label, a clothing line that sells statement merch celebrating sun-kissed skin. Ayin is also a motivational speaker and a member of the Metro Manila Toastmasters Club. I think this woman is one of the first ones who were really loud enough to advocate for color positivity in the country. She was able to inspire thousands of Filipinas to love their natural morena color. Ako po, hindi naman ako morena, but I am so inspired by her movement. And we're not that close in college actually, but she's been sharing parts of her life on social media. Not enough to know her, but enough to know the stories. And just like maybe some of you, I'm also very curious as to how she managed to pull herself together into being at her happiest despite the things that she went through. So let's welcome self-love advocate. It's your girl, Ayn Bernos.
Hi everyone. So, wow, okay, here we go. Thank you, Yanni, for having me. I'm so happy to meet everyone here. We have 103 participants on Zoom alone. And I feel like this is going to be a fruitful discussion about happiness and self-love. So, let me share with you guys my screen. Syempre, pinaghandaan natin. Okay, so first things first. Let me introduce myself a little bit. I'm seeing a lot of new faces. I'm so glad to be part of this community now. All right, so today we're going to be talking about happiness, to be specific, self-love, and life lessons. Now, I'm not here as an expert, on happiness. It's something that I'm still pursuing. It's a lifelong process, I believe, but I also think that when we share our stories, we share our lessons, we get to learn from each other. And that's what I'm attempting to do today with you guys. So, first of all, hi, I am Ayin. I'm an entrepreneur, a storyteller, and an extremely introspective human being. And when I say extremely introspective, I have so many journals, so many blog posts. I tend to overshare, and I realize, that I've been doing that for the last 4 years that I've been on YouTube. So, like Yanni said a while ago, I am a self-love advocate. I'm a body positivity advocate. And more importantly, I'm a proud Morena girl. So this whole story begins with me being a Morena girl in a country that, it wasn't considered a standard of beauty for the longest time. And so with that experience, I've had to cultivate self-love from within and redefine that for myself. So that's the background that I'm coming from. And as we go on with this story, I want to share more of myself with you guys, more of my lessons, and hopefully I can learn from your insights as well. So anytime you guys have something that you want to share, or if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, let me know in the chat box and we'll talk about it. All right, so before anything else, when we think about happiness, it means different things for different people. I want to share with you the story that led me to my current definition of happiness. So last year, I was living in Spain. I was an English teacher in Spain. So I taught high school. So imagine yourself in a Spanish high school, a brown Filipina, the only Asian girl there. the only thing that I think got me the respect, the ultimate pro that I had was that I was a YouTuber. So my high school students, they were so shocked that they had a YouTuber for a teacher. So we built that relationship. Now I was the cool young teacher who they could talk to, whatever. And then one day during our final weeks in school, we had to practice English. We had to practice our conversation skills. So I gathered them, around 12 students. These were 11-year-old kids. I asked them, how do you see yourself 20 years from now? So I asked them, what is your life going to be like? And this was only so I could practice their English. I wanted them to say everything that they were going to be in 20 years. And so the kids started explaining, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to have a car like this. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a housewife. They had different dreams. And so after that round, I asked them another question. I said, who do you think among your classmates is the most successful? And then I realized that these are, again, Spanish kids, and they don't know the meaning of successful. So they asked me, Ayin, they never called me teacher or anything. It was just Ayin. Ayin, what is successful? What do you mean by successful? And I was dumbfounded. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to explain successful to 11-year-old kids, especially since I can't speak in Spanish. If I were to explain that in Tagalog, that would be much easier. But how do you explain success to kids who have no idea what that is? And so I just sat there trying to come up with ideas. Maybe who's the richest? But no, that's not true. You're not the most successful just because you're the richest. And then I started thinking, maybe the one with kids? Or no, I didn't want to say that. Until finally, this one student, she was another 11-year-old girl, she spoke up and she said, do you mean happy? Do you mean happy? And that made me stop and think, oh my goodness, this little kid is telling me that being successful is being happy. I had to stop because I realized that I've been going through the last 20 years of my life not knowing what I was looking for, not knowing what happiness was. And they reminded me what it is. I was trying to be successful. I was trying so hard to be successful when in the end, apparently I've just been trying to be happy and I wanted to be happy. So that gave me like a shift of perspective, and that started all the questions that I've been thinking about for the last year since I've been back. So the first lesson that I want to share is something that I learned from an 11-year-old. The happiest people are the most successful. So then, today we're going to be talking about happiness and self-love and the relationship between those two. These are the two questions that hopefully we can answer, not at the end of this session, but as we progress in our journey towards happiness. So the first one is, how do we work towards happiness? And second, in the process, how do we love ourselves better? Because I do believe that they go hand in hand. Do you guys agree with me? Can you give me a thumbs up? Yes, a Korean heart. So there was this TEDx talk that I recently watched because I wanted to know the scientific, like the research-based discussion on happiness. Because I could talk about happiness from my perspective, yada, 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 but I wanted to know what professionals are saying about it. So the question was, what is the secret to a good life? And according to this 75-year-old Harvard study, this is what happened. Okay, so over 75 years, Harvard's Grant and Glueck study has tracked the physical and emotional health of two groups. Imagine 75 years. So it's not just you going through your life, it was an objective study of other people's well-being for 75 years. So they had two groups of people. The first one, 456 poor people in Boston from 1939 to 2014. And then 268 graduates from Harvard's classes of 1939 to 1944. So these are two different kinds of people, different backgrounds, different upbringings. And then throughout a period of 75 years, they would ask questions, see how they were, and the results were obviously different, as with all people. Some people went from being poor to being rich, others the other way around. It was all sorts of things. But the main conclusion that they got was that, here, let me quote Dr. Robert Waldinger, the director of the study. The clearest message that we get from this 75-year study is that good relationships keep us happier and healthier, period. People with good relationships with their family, their friends, that's what makes us happy in the long run. At the end of this lifetime, when we're surrounded with good people we can count on, that's what makes us happiest. But how do we get there? I'm in my 20s. Some of you guys are in different phases of your life, and it's hard to know what steps to take, especially when we're dealing with our personal lives. We have so many areas that we need to focus on. We have our career, we have our family, we have our relationships. How do we do this? So first, let me give you this quote. If you don't do things to keep your cup full, you have nothing left to give or share with others. And so this is how we connect all of this to self-love. And yeah, it does sound like a very millennial term. That it's like, me, I need to love myself. But what does that mean in the context of having other people? We can be of service to other people. We can be better towards other people if our sense of self, if our self-worth is also good. We can't keep giving without having anything for ourselves. So the first thing we need to do in order to foster those better relationships for a lifetime of happiness is, of course, to work on ourselves and give that same love to ourselves. Now that brings us to the question, what defines you? This is such a millennial question as well. Na parang we always think, what is my purpose? What is my why? Why am I here in this world? And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who is kept awake at night thinking about this. Okay, anyone else here? Can you give me a raise of hand? Na at one point in your life, nabulabog na kayo ng question na, what defines me? Why am I here? What is my purpose? It's everyone's problem. What defines us? So let me share with you my story. Throughout my life, I've had several things define me. The first one is my image, my self-image. When I was a kid, as you can see in the photo in the screen, I was a little brown girl and I was very timid. You can see the way I slump my shoulders. I was super shy. I was very insecure about, my skin color. And it's not something that I resent now because it was all part of my journey. But during that time, that was the center of my life. I wanted to be more beautiful. I wanted to be liked. I was a people pleaser. I wanted everyone to look at me and see somebody worth something. Like my validation, how I loved myself depended on how people saw me. And then eventually, of course, as you can see, I grew out of that. I started loving my skin color. I started loving myself. I started honing my skills and I started putting value elsewhere. And then when I forgot about my insecurities, my physical insecurities, and I cared less about how strangers perceive me, the center of my life changed from that to relationships. Relationships. Any teenager, anyone in their early 20s, I think we all get to that point where we're a little bit, obsessed with finding the one. The fairy tales tell us we need to find the one. Facebook groups tell us we need to find that special someone. Like, that is the end all and be all of life, diba? Like, we all want someone to love us. So in my early 20s, I fell in love. I fostered romantic relationships, and that was the center of everything. I basically built my life around that. My early 20s, they were a very formative phase, and having somebody else at the center of it is not good. I think it's an observation that I learned eventually. But so when that relationship crumbled, I had to pick myself up again. My self-worth, because it was attached to that, it also crumbled. So now, what did I do? As a strong, independent woman, narinig nyo na yun, di ba? Alam nyo naman yung phrase, strong, independent woman. Again, it's a very millennial term. We're all about self-love. We're all about being a girl boss. We're all about, being our best selves. So I turned to my career to define me. For the next 2-3 years, I built Morena the Label. I built my YouTube channel. I was making videos left and right. I was hosting events. I was focusing on me, my career. And then I moved to Spain. I wanted to be an English teacher. That didn't work out. I moved home. I started all sorts of things. And I thought it was going great. It was okay. Until finally, something happened 2 months ago. And that was the pandemic. It was the beginning of our community quarantine. All of a sudden, it was weird to share about my life on social media. It was weird to share about my life on YouTube. So I couldn't post anything. I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel comfortable sharing anything. At the same time, I had to stop operations because all non-essential businesses, of course, were affected. And so because of that big change, once again, a third time, I felt my self-worth crashing down because I defined myself based on my career, what I did with my money and my business, my image, my status. So this past 2 months, this webinar actually came at a really good time because I've been doing a lot of introspection, a lot of thinking, a lot of reading. It's been a learning process for me because I realized that these things, no matter how good or bad they are, attaching my self-worth to things I cannot control fully is difficult. And it's hard to be happy when your self-worth is attached to something that will inevitably come crashing down at one point. It's not the end of the world, obviously, but your self-worth is affected very, very much so. So this is what I learned. I learned that I no longer want to anchor my self-worth on things that will constantly fluctuate. Other people's feelings. Like, if the center of my life is another person, if they feel happy, then I'm happy. If they're sad, then I'm sad. If I can't help them, then I feel worthless. If my self-worth is in my job, what happens when I retire? If my self-worth is in my image, in my body, what happens when I gain weight? We can't anchor our self-esteem, our self-worth on things that will inevitably change. These things will change. It's just a human thing. Everything fluctuates. So here's a quote from the book that I read. So like I showed you guys earlier, I've been reading the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People throughout this quarantine. And I've been treating it as a meditation. Sorry, can we guys? Yeah, all right. Sorry. So I've been using this as a learning material for me to see things more objectively and get out of myself, see the bigger picture. Now, I really like this one. I highlighted it on the book. So people can't live with change if there's not a changeless core inside them. The key to the ability to change is a changeless sense of who you are, what you are about, and what you value. So we are all on this journey to become happier. We want to be happier. We want to be successful. We want to live a full life. And a full life is going to be a life of changes. It's going to be different stages of your life, different phases of your career. Things are always going to change. But we must have something inside us that will remain constant no matter what. A changeless sense of who we are, what we are about, and what we value. And that is, okay, so what should define you? If it's not your image, if it's not the people around you, if it's not your career, what should define us? It's our values. Our values should define us because our values are things that should remain constant and will remain constant no matter what life throws at us, right? So what's your value? Can you give me some examples in the chat? Maybe you can share with me what you value. So mine is flashed on the screen. It's service, community, compassion, integrity, love, and learning. So no matter where I am in life, no matter how my relationships go, no matter if I grow big or small or whatever happens, if my self-worth is anchored in the things that I value, in my principles, I have a better shot at maintaining the happiness. So let me see the chat box. Determination and faith, passion, service, authenticity, very, very important. Hope. Oh my gosh, hope. Who are we without hope? Competence, commitment, compassion. We have a Thamasian over here. Is that a Thamasian? Integrity, unconditional love. So our values, this is the anchor that we need to hold on to anytime we think about our self-worth. So that whatever we're faced with, our value, the way we value ourselves doesn't change. When you know what your values are, your purpose becomes clear. So again, going back to the very first question, why am I here? What am I doing with my life? With our values, even though we're still in the middle of finding that purpose, at the very least, we know what we stand for. And at the very least, that's enough to keep us grounded and to keep us going. Yeah. Now, here's another question. We take time to get to know other people. We go on dates. Who here goes on dates? Any single lady, single men? And yung mga happily in a relationship. Of course, before you got there, you had to get to know your partner, right? Right? So why don't we do that with ourselves as well? Self-love is all about getting to know ourselves, going through that same tedious process with other people as with ourselves. So if we have the time, the energy to get to know somebody else, why not us too? Why not ourselves? So I have a question for you guys. What questions do you need to ask a life partner? Let me know in the chat. Let me read some out. What questions do you need to ask a life partner before you decide that this is the one? Ano yung kailangan yung alamin? What do you need to know? Actually, this would be very useful for me. I want to know your input, Yani.
For me, it's what are your values? Ayan. It is important. It's very, very important for me to know and make sure that our values are aligned before even getting to know this person better.
Mm-hmm.
Ikaw, Coach Jill.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was thinking diba, sabi ni Ayn kasi, what concrete questions do you want to ask a potential life partner? Of course, when I thought back, I didn't exactly ask what are your values straightforward, but it was really a constant, learning about each other. But my mind was really focused on also knowing if we had the same values, because at the end of the day, that's gonna be our foundation when the relationship will be tested eventually. We will really go back to what do we really believe in, what do we stand for. So I was very, very conscious of that throughout our dating phase, and getting to know this person in terms of what does he really believe in and how does he act, apart from just the beliefs, because that's different altogether. He can say one thing but act in another way. And of course, based on my experience, he was very consistent and aligned. So that's why I think I keep him inspired and happy.
Aww.
Just to
See,
answer this.
you're blooming and you're happy because you asked the right questions. You got to know the right stuff, right?
Right, exactly.
So, ito yung mga sagot sa chat. So, some people want to know the childhood story. That's correct. Consistency. What keeps him happy and inspired? I like this question. Do you want to spend the rest of your life with me? Oo nga naman.
Agad.
I mean, di ba? I mean, if you dumating na sa point na you want the life partner, baka naman ikaw lang may gusto. You want to know it as well, di ba? So, another one. What makes you feel alive and what are the things you regret in the past? History. What are your dreams for the future? Knowing what they're aiming for, what their goals are. Being on the same page, very important. So the reason why I asked you guys those questions, so these are obviously the things that you care about when you get to know somebody else. The same things should be asked to yourself. So for me, I have these 5 questions that I wrote down. Number 1, what issues do you care about? Like what things keep you up at night? What are you passionate about? Number 2, what are your non-negotiables? These are things in life that you will stick to no matter what. Like this is unchangeable. For example, for me, it's my independence. I need to be independent. I need to make my own choices. I need that. So that's a non-negotiable. What about them? What can they not negotiate about? Number 3, where do you see yourself going? You should be going not necessarily on down the same path, but you should at least be parallel so you can support each other along the way. Now, this is another question that you need to ask yourself. Where do you see yourself going? Where do I see myself going? Number 4, what's so lovable about you? And the reason why I put this is because oftentimes when we say we're honest with ourselves, we're honest about the bad things, right? Like, pag sinasabi nila, be honest with yourself. Ang una nating iniisip, I'm honest, I'm lazy. I'm honest na I'm not good enough. I guess it's true. It's true what they say about me. I'm not that good. I'm not that talented. But what's so lovable about you? What's so good about you? That's even harder to accept sometimes. Sometimes it's harder for us to openly embrace the good things about us. So while we can ask that question about other people, like, ano bang meron sa kanya na magugustuhan ko? Why do I want to date him? Ask yourself, what do I love about myself? And it's not shameful to have a long list of things that's good about you. In fact, I applaud you for that if you love yourself enough to acknowledge the good things about your life and you as a person. And lastly, can I live with this person for the rest of my life? When you go into a relationship and when you think about this is my partner for life, that's also something that you need to consider. When you look at yourself in the mirror, am I happy with how this person is choosing her decisions? Am I happy about the path that this person is taking on? Can I live with myself? If yes, then go you. Keep doing you. If not, that's okay because we can always choose. We can choose to be better. We can choose to improve. We can choose to live a better life. So there you go. Before you, while you can date other people, we can all date other people. We also need to get to know ourselves a little better, love ourselves a little better. Can you guys hear my dog? Give me a Korean heart if you can. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to do with that, but okay. I'm just gonna sit closer so my voice overpowers that. Okay, so this is a quote by me and so many times in my young life. For those of you guys who don't know me, I'm 25 years old. And I've said, I don't think this is for me way too many times, so many times. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. All right, so let me tell you guys the story. Yeah. So I feel like I've had a good number of failures in the past. Like I've said a while ago, there was a relationship that didn't quite work out, and that was life changing because I was 22 at that time, and I moved to another country. I changed my career to make that happen, and it didn't work out. So I found myself in a position where I had to start over. I had to decide where to go next because I've laid out my life in that direction, but I had to go back, even though I thought that was a point of no return. But here I am. So don't be afraid to fail because we can always start over. That's one thing that I got from that experience that I think is so important and that I will take with me wherever I go. Failure is something that has hindered me from pursuing happiness for a long time. You know, my dreams, I was always afraid of not being good enough. And so because I thought I was not good enough, I wouldn't go on auditions. Because I thought that I couldn't possibly do this, I wouldn't even start my business. So it took me learning that very simple lesson, but very profound lesson in order for me to start living my life to the fullest, or at least allowing myself to go after what I wanted. So eliminating that fear to fail was essential to pursuing self-love because I allowed myself to experience these experiences. I allowed myself to embrace my mistakes. I allowed myself to start over. Okay. So I don't think this is for me. I was so afraid to say this before because I felt like people would judge me if I said that this isn't for me. Like if I'm not for YouTube, I've been YouTubing for 4 years and all of a sudden I decide now, oh, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. Some people will say now, oh, you're a failure because you tried something and then it didn't work out. But we owe it to ourselves to keep trying. We owe it to ourselves to give up some stuff to make space for others. So I don't think this is for me or failing. It's something that we should embrace and we should just hold on to. It's okay. So this is all right. Ayan, when people ask me, how do you become confident, Ayan? How do you become confident? So if you guys don't know, I also have a podcast called Camp Confidence. And the whole idea was the first idea was to bring on my friends who are very confident and, you know, they know what they're doing. Parang I wanted to interview experts on life. And what I learned throughout the process of interviewing these successful, amazing people is that they're very, very human. And how they love themselves is apparent. And that makes all the difference. This is a quote that I think my number one. Every time I doubt myself, I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like I can't do this thing. I'm not good enough, or imposter syndrome. We think now we're not qualified to do something. I always go back to this. No one is better than you, and you are better than no one. No one is better than you, and you are better than no one. And I don't mean that na, oh, I'm a 25-year-old. I know so much better than an 80-year-old who's had a lifetime of experiences. That's not what it is at all. What I mean by this is wherever we are in life, we can't compare that to somebody else's timeline. I look at my inspirations. So I want to ask you guys, who inspires you? Like, who are the people that you look up to and you want to be in the future? For me, I really love Jen M. If you guys know Jen M, she is a content creator. She created her own brand. She started YouTubing in college. As in college pa lang siya, gumagawa na siya ng fashion videos, makeup videos. And then, I think, after 10 years ata siya nag-YouTube. Now she has her own clothing line. She has her own house in LA. She has a happy family life. She has a husband. She's so extremely happy. But what I learned throughout my pagiging fan nitong YouTuber na to, throughout those many years, is that I saw her go from college student YouTuber to girl boss. And I feel like that is something that we don't get to see often, because we often look at our idols. We often look at, let me see yung mga idol ninyo sa chat.
Ikaw ang nakasulat dyan.
Ano ba yan?
Mga fans mo pala nandito.
Oh my God, guys. Bakit di ko...
You have Elon Musk. You have, of course, me, my parents, Coach Ross, Rowena Chai. You inspire me, Ate Ayin. Oh, ayan, mga fans mo. Ayin. Ang dami ng Ayin. 100 tong nasa chat box na Ayin.
Oh my
Ayin. Oh, yan. You're one of the people I look up to daw. Oh.
Guys, iyak ako, Char. So, when we look at these people, okay, let's say Elon Musk, we see their present self. We see the amazing outcome. But we're not exposed to the road getting there. But because I guess I've been a fan of Gen M for so long, na whenever I go back to her old videos, it always grounds me. It reminds me that this girl is so human. She is so normal. She is so me. She's just like me. And sure, our backgrounds are different, but you can't deny that she has worked her way towards where she is. And that ability to work towards something, that ability to choose, to strive every day, to work every day, that is an ability that we all have. Like every human being has that ability to choose. And so one more, ayan na, puro naman ako quote from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Again, one thing is this quote. It says, between stimulus and response is our greatest power. And that is the freedom to choose. So stimulus is what happens to us. And response is how we react to it. Between those two things, in the middle, is how we choose. And so that really empowered me, because I realized that just like everybody else, I have that same ability. So whenever I feel insecure, I walk into a room na parang, oh my gosh, so much more knowledgeable people, so much more experienced people. I'm very young. I'm not qualified for this. Every time I go to that mindset, I always hold it back and I say, nope, no one is better than you, and you are better than no one. Wow, I messed that up. You are better than no one. So at the same time, it grounds me, it humbles me in the sense that anyone I talk to, I'm not better than them. Whatever I achieve, I'm not better than anyone. But at the same time, everyone, they're just like me. Therefore, I can own this place. I can own my space wherever I go. So, ayan, like this session, for example, we're 100 people here. We have so many others in the live stream. And I kept thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what have I been doing in the last 2 months that deserves to talk about this? like, am I happy enough to be talking about happiness? Do I love myself enough to be talking about self-love? That's always a question. But our stories have value, and this is not something that only applies to me. This is for everyone here in this chat room who wants to start a project, who wants to start a business, who wants to present themselves as, you know, a better, bigger version of themselves. We deserve that chance to be better. We owe it to ourselves to grab that chance. So if I didn't start my YouTube channel all those years ago, 4 years ago, I would not have shared my story. If I did not share my story, I wouldn't be connected to everyone here. I wouldn't be able to look at my life with that level of introspection. So if you guys look at my first YouTube video, it was awful. It was awful. It was me in front of a camera, tapos wala akong ginagawa masyado. Parang I was like, hi guys, it's your girl Ayn. This is the same background that I had. And I didn't know what to say because everyone in that space, everyone was either a travel vlogger who had money to go around the world and film their adventures, or a beauty vlogger na ang galing-galing mag-makeup. Di naman ako marunong nun. Also, I couldn't afford. I was right out of college. I couldn't afford makeup in the first place. So anong gagawin ko? And then I wasn't a fashion vlogger either because I felt like my clothes are okay, but they're not spectacular. I'm not special. But what I did know was that this was something I wanted to do. And I felt like at that time, I owed it to myself to try. So I started making these random funny, feeling ko sa sarili ko, it was funny videos. And then one day, I just was myself. I was just myself. I started making not a tutorial videos for Morena girls kasi nga I'm a Morena girl. Yung not a tutorial kasi insecure ako about making tutorials. I'm not good enough to make a tutorial, so I'll just make not a tutorials. And then after that, I couldn't make H&M or Forever 21 hauls that was trending at that time. I couldn't do that. So what I did was instead, I made, you know, the Taytay Tiangge. Have you guys heard of the Taytay Tiangge? Can you give me a thumbs up if you've heard of the Taytay Tiangge? So one day, my mom and her amigas went to the Taytay Tiangge, and I said, oh, I want to go because I wanted to look at the cheap stuff. I wanted to do affordable shopping. So I did that. And that ended up being the video that blew up, that got me my subscribers, because they've never heard of this before. If you go to the very first video of the Taytay Tiangge, it was my video. And that was because I told myself that even though I think I'm not good enough or what I have to offer is not good enough, I owe it to myself to try. So that's what I did. And even though I feel like the journey has been up and down, the lesson that, the lesson that I learned was that I had to do it. I had to start, even though I wasn't perfect, even though I wasn't the best, even though I wasn't special. There was nothing in me that made me that person, that go-to person for anything. But my story, your story, is still worth sharing anyway. And that in itself has value. The same way that you, just by being yourself, has value. So what defines us isn't our attachment to all the different areas in our life. Like this present self is more than enough. So now I want to share with you guys an action plan. Wow, an action plan. So what's next? I've told you guys my story and I can only talk about myself for too long. But how can I help you? How can you get out of this session, and what can you do immediately after? So first, I want to challenge you guys to, number one, start that thing you've been wanting to start, even if you're not ready. So can you guys quickly type in the chat box what you want to work on, but you haven't been working on because you're so scared or you're so worried or self-conscious or feeling mo hindi pa good enough. I'm not ready, so I won't do this yet. Let's see. Making a portfolio, a baking business, vlogging. Coach Jill, vlogging. Nagla-live
Go,
stream ka,
Coach
di ba?
Jill.
Na hanggang 1.5 hours.
Kayang-kaya mo yun.
So that's where I started.
I love it. Yanni is my interior styling classes. Wow, I love
Yeah,
that.
I haven't done my portfolio yet kasi may not good enough pa doon na I'm not even certified. I didn't even take classes. So should I really put it out there? There are questions in my head. And yeah, I think this is a good guide that you're giving that we have to start
Mhm.
and just start it and just do it. And like I always say, no one's ever too ready for something,
Yes,
right?
someone is
But
ever
unless we do it, unless we start it,
Mhm.
that's when we'll know if it's for us.
Exactly. Ayan. So we have others here, calligraphy, masters. So we don't have to go all out. Whenever we think about launching that big idea or transitioning to that career, we always think we have to go big or go home. We have to start. We have to launch it. It has to be perfect, amazing. It has to be eye-catching. Pero is that even possible? If we keep procrastinating the beginning of something, will we ever start? Ay, ayan. So the challenge is, guys, so even if you don't have to launch, but you have to take that step towards beginning something. When I started my YouTube channel, ang number one accountability partner ko talaga, alam niyo ba, Facebook. Facebook was my number one accountability partner. Because as soon as I informed my friends and my family and social media that, okay, I'm starting this thing, I'm starting Morena the Label, or I'm starting my YouTube channel, that pushed me to not go back. Kasi this is it. Like, everyone knows I'm gonna start this. I can't go back now. I can't be the girl who announced, nah, this is what I'm gonna do and then go back. So, yun, that helped me. So I didn't have like a big launch. What I had was a post on Facebook saying, "Hi friends, please subscribe to my YouTube channel." So I guess in that sense, I learned that self-love was giving myself that opportunity to try. Because if we don't push ourselves towards that point of no return, hindi natin mabibigay yung opportunity na sobrang kine-crave natin. We yearn to prove ourselves. All we need is that opportunity to go do it. The second thing that I want to challenge you guys with is to reconnect with people. And when I say reconnect with people, I don't mean hopping on a Zoom meeting, tapos call it like an inuman, ganyan. More than that, like ask questions na we mentioned earlier. So it doesn't have to be a lot of people. It can be one person. Diba, sabi earlier, according to the Harvard study, the people who fared the best are the people who leaned into relationships, to family and friends. And that is something that is very, very doable and very actionable. It's just a little scary because sometimes we have that self-consciousness na, what if abala tayo? What if they're too busy to have this conversation with us? But if we procrastinate these relationships, eventually we'll find ourselves drifting away. And I guess that's one thing that I learned during this pandemic, during this quarantine. Reconnecting has really allowed me to validate this study, even though hindi naman niya kailangan ng validation ko, diba, ng isang Ayn Bernos. But I realize that that's so true. I am happiest when I am closer to the people around me and when I maintain those relationships. And last but not the least is to stop apologizing. And okay, let me clarify what stop apologizing means. So, self talk. You guys know what self talk is? Simply put, it's how you talk to yourself. And this is important when we think about self-love. When we talk about self-love, how we talk to ourselves is one of the most important things we should be very aware of. Kasi, eto usually naririnig ko. I'm a public speaker and I am part of an organization that is, an organization of public speakers. And I noticed that with a lot of beginners, eto yung laging sinasabi. Hey guys, I'm sorry, hindi ako ganun kagaling. I'm sorry, this is my first time actually to start a webinar. Oh, I'm sorry guys, kagabi ko lang kasi nalaman. I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, this is my first YouTube video. I'm sorry, this is my first time running a business. I'm sorry. And when we keep saying that, we keep putting ourselves down unconsciously. Parang pinapangunahan natin na, oh, wait lang I'm not good enough. Be kind. But the thing is, people don't really notice this as much as we think they do. Everyone is dealing with their own problems, with their own insecurities, with their own journeys. So when we apologize before we even try, we discount ourselves. We deprive ourselves of being our best selves. So the next time you want to apologize for not being good enough, or you want to apologize or make yourself look smaller than you really are, the next time you want to tell everyone that you may not be qualified for something, hold yourself back. Don't do it. Don't apologize for being who you are. Because wherever you are in your journey, whatever you're doing, you deserve to be there. And if you don't deserve to be there, you have the option, you have the choice to work towards deserving to be there. And sometimes that is more than good enough. So hopefully after this session, you guys can really take this to heart. Start what it is that you want to start. Reconnect with the people who can help you and support you. And to stop depriving yourself of that opportunity to be better, because you do deserve happiness and you do deserve that life with a person, with a self that you can live with. So thank you guys for having me. Thank you, Yanni, for giving me that space to share what I've learned so far.
Thank you so much, Ayin. Can we put this sharing on? Yan. Okay, I love it. I got so much from that. And can I just add to that, no? I remember parang a couple of days ago, someone told me that you have to start mirroring yourself. So every time you give yourself this negative self-talk, you have to think, what if may ibang tao sa tabi mo saying that to you? Will you allow this person to tell you that, alam mo, you're not good enough? You know what? Stop speaking because you're not good. You know what? Stop doing that because you're not good. What will you do to this person? Di ba parang you'll say, alam mo, whatever, I can do this. Or like, you're not in the position to tell me if I'm good enough, right? But how come when it comes to ourselves, we usually say it to us easily, right? So yeah, it's really just catching yourself when you do your negative self-talk. And I'm very, very guilty around it, ha? Ako talaga, ako dyan, medyo suki din ako dyan. And siguro, I guess, when I attended your first public speaking course that you offered to my team, I love it because dun ka tutunan na you don't apologize at the start, the beginning. And you don't be sorry for not being the best.
Yes.
Don't be sorry for not knowing everything all at once, right? So just be unapologetic and just be real. And like you said, punta ka na lang ng Taytay and then you didn't even know, right? You thought hindi ka naman magaling, hindi ka ganyan, and all these negative things. And based on result, ikaw yung nag-trend because of that. Because you're just being yourself, right? Coach Jill, any inputs?
Yeah, I love all of the insights. I love the sharing, Ayin, and from you as well, Yanni. I also want to add, no, I think a lot of people's enemy is actually the comparisons, no. Us comparing ourselves to another's journey us comparing how we look to another person's, beauty, wherein beauty naman talaga is really very subjective, right? So I guess I really wanted to just highlight that we are in our own unique journey. We're, in our own unique path to happiness at the same time. And our timelines are not the same timelines of another person. And at the same time, we can have choices that can elevate our space in whatever journey that we're part of right now. There's always a decision that we can do to change or shift. And really, I think, Ayin, you said it best when you said that don't let failure, keep you from trying. Because you'll never even know if you were gonna fail if you didn't try, right? So I guess I just remember me also as a fresh grad, I would think of so many ideas. I have so many ideas. I have so many plans, but just going for some because of the fear of not being good enough or not being perfect enough, or maybe that fear of failure. But now I realize that really, the battle, the enemy is just me. I am my worst critic, right? And I guess that's the constant battle that we also face. What do we really tell ourselves talaga before we go to bed? Diba? So I think really the affirmations are very powerful. It also helps me, remind myself of my worthiness, to step into confidence, create specific events as well for me to anchor on and say, hey, I am that powerful, strong, independent woman.
Coach Jill, you mentioned about affirmations. Maybe you can share some practical tools on how we can show self-love to ourselves better or every day.
Sure, sure. Self-affirmation is actually a form of verbal conditioning, right? So Ayin mentioned a while ago that it's very important to watch out, especially the words that you tell or you say to yourself, even those that no one hears. Those are the most powerful words. And self-affirmation can actually, support you in creating better belief systems, or you also learning to love yourself more through that practice. So if you were here at the start of the session, we also had that quick meditation, 15 minutes, gratitude, love and compassion, clearing, all of that. No? So that's part of what we call a 6-phase meditation, which also includes the self-affirmation. And you maybe even physically even hugging yourself. And if you try this practice on a daily basis, like what we've been doing here in our teams, right? You would really feel a significant difference later on. Now you would feel so light, you'd feel so, powerful, and maybe you'd feel even more confident because of those affirmations. So maybe think of those qualities that you wish that were said, that you wish have been said to you or you want to become, and make it your I ams. So I am powerful, I am confident, I am smart, I am worthy, I am capable, I am strong, I am independent, and I can do this. And as simple as that, all throughout the day, I am enough. I love that statement. The moment that you wake up, that's the most powerful hour of your day, actually. Right, Ayin? I see you reacting to that. Do you agree?
Yes, I just imagine myself waking up, telling myself, I am capable.
Yeah. Then Bannon, exactly. So I am affirmations are very powerful. I suggest that you, step into that practice, maybe even include it in your meditation and prayer. It's part of gratitude, even. Maybe you also thanking God for who you are and who you are becoming, right? So that's you saying who you are in the present tense, your I ams. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach Jill. Yeah, I would agree that our I am affirmations are very, very powerful, especially if you do it first thing in the morning. Because that's again, if you want self-love, fill in your love tank first until overflow na lang yung binibigay mo the entire day. And for you to do that, start giving it to yourself by affirming yourself. Um maybe doing quiet time for yourself. What are the things that you mentioned pa? You do prayer, you do meditation.
Exactly.
These are the things that you do to practice self-love.
Yeah, and I actually want to add on that. No, maybe for some of you guys, from time to time, you feel a little burnout, and predominantly the reason for burnout is because you've neglected yourself. So maybe you've not given yourself time to just enjoy, time to take care of your body's needs, maybe, or as simple as like what we mentioned a while ago, a couple of minutes maybe of appreciating yourself and telling yourself of who you are, right? So again, the I am affirmation. So if you experience that, or you find yourself feeling tired and burnt out, then maybe ask yourself, how am I loving and taking care of myself now?
Yes, because sometimes or a lot of times we tend to get this kind of love from people or ask this love from people, which we don't realize is actually should be coming from ourselves and should be primarily from ourselves first, before actually asking it from others. So yeah, I think we're ready now for the question and answer portion, my favorite part. We have our first question actually. Is it okay if I just read it out?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So, how to balance self-love and love for future life partner? Ayon. Siguro, I think Coach Jill is the best person to answer this. No, sabi niya kanina, as you mentioned earlier, that you should not be too attached with someone or something. That's right. So that you will not break yourself in the end. I think like the balance part. How is it done? And the love for yourself, and at the same time, you can give enough love to your future lifetime partner without being too attached with him or her. Go ahead, Coach Jill.
Right. So I love that question. Um, Honestly, I don't think that there is such a thing as balance, because I believe that you actually put priority to taking care of your inner love tank. Because when you're full, there's no tendency to look at other external factors, things, people, events, situations to fill that tank of yours. So you work on your internal self, your self love. I call it love tank. No, so your love tank is basically how much you love yourself and how much you take care of yourself. And when your love tank is actually full, it will just naturally, overflow to people around you. So the question is, kanina, no, how do you not attach yourself to that other person? It's actually you also looking at what do you enjoy doing, what do you want to do, like what are your interests, and do you give yourself time to do that? Then at the same time you could share that side of yours to this other person, and by doing so you even get to know each other better, right, through the experiences, through the interests, through the communication that you're going to be having. So I really believe that it starts with you, yourself. I don't believe in the saying that you complete me. Diba? It was a famous line before. Ganun na ba ako katanda? Diba? So for those who don't know that movie, well, you have to watch that movie. So it was by Tom Cruise, and it was a famous line, and he said, you complete me. And all of the girls said, oh, right? But I'm telling you, no one needs or has to complete you, right? The best relationship is actually when two full and complete individuals come together, a whole and a whole joining forces. That's even more powerful, because that's the time that you can see, full support and full love freely given, and no presumptions, no, attachments, no expectations from each other, because you yourself and your partner is full, and your love tank is filled to the brim. Yeah, so that's the best relationship that you can get into. That's why they always say, if you want to find that the one, or that perfect person or partner, lifelong partner, settle down and married, you start developing yourself to be the one. So that means really filling that love tank of yours so that naturally you attract a similar individual who has his love tank full at the same time. And the two of you will just complement each other, not complete, just complement each other, right? What are your thoughts there, Ayin?
That is
I
so
see
good.
Ayin, writing notes.
Oh, I need to learn. I love that. I love that. Kasi, I guess because we're used to Disney love stories, looking for somebody to complete us and make our lives better. We have that power to do that ourselves. So I want to read to you guys a quote by Will Smith, and that really changed the way I perceived self-love and relationships. So he said, her happiness, pertaining to yung sa asawa niya, her happiness is not my responsibility. She should be happy and I should be happy individually. Then we come together and share our happiness. Giving someone a responsibility to make you happy when you can't do it for yourself, it's selfish. Because we're not here to, this is a journey, a personal journey. And when we love ourselves enough and we've come to that self realization that this is our responsibility, we get to love another person even better because we're not counting on them to change our lives, to make our lives better. We're there for them because we have enough love from ourselves, and they have enough love from themselves as well. Like, hindi yung kulang yung focus ng relationship. It's what we can give, what else we can offer them. So, but again, Coach Jill pa rin for the win, seeing as I'm a very single lady.
At the same time, I guess just to add to that, people are not responsible to complete you. People are not responsible to change you. People are not responsible to make sure that you're happy. At the end of the day, we are all responsible to our own happiness, to our own love for ourselves, to our own approach to people, on how we love other people and how we give our love to other people. So yeah, just again what Coach Jill said, fill in your love tank and you will attract the same person who does the same and who gives the same love to themselves. I love that. Okay, we have some more questions. Maybe I want to get some share. I think Tish messaged me that she wants to share her greatest learning so far. Go ahead, Tish.
Okay, so thank you so much, Coach Jill and Ayin. I've learned so much by just listening talaga. I've written down notes as well. Kasi as a loving person, before I feel like I'm being taken advantage because I tend to somehow pity myself because I'm such a loving person. But right now, I do understand that other people shouldn't be thinking that I should be making them happy. It's only I should be making myself happy. So just like what Coach Jill is saying, parang I should fill myself up so that the love comes out naturally. Because I think all people naman are maybe loving persons. You just need to love yourself even more para wala, naturally na lang siya magka-come out, and parang you don't actually have to find someone that's gonna be making you happy. Kasi parang ako, I super love Nicholas Sparks movies and everything like that. And then parang it always teaches us or tells us na parang when you find the right person, they actually complete you. So perfect talaga. Sobrang tinatamaan ako doon. Kasi last night, I was watching mga rom-com movies, and then now parang sabi ko, okay, I have a different belief system towards love and happiness pala. So it doesn't have to be like that. Parang you are the one responsible for your happiness alone, and it shouldn't be dependent to other people. Kasi sobrang ganda niya eh. Parang if you guys are both happy persons, parang wala, sobrang naturally, there's not gonna be some problems in the future. Parang it's just gonna be super normal, super at peace because you both are happy naturally. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Tish. Tish is in a very happy relationship. So just like her, ang na-attract niya is someone who's also very happy. With her same energy. See? You attract the person like you. Right, Coach Jill?
Correct. I just want to add, no, especially
Go
for
ahead.
those who are in a maybe dating phase already, getting to know your your partner, or maybe even those who are still looking, this is actually maybe one of the realizations that I love to share with you guys, because it has actually helped me be better at relationships actually. So even if I'm already married, I'm still learning and growing in terms of relationships and how do I really relate with my husband now. So in your journey of filling your own love tank, it would also be worthwhile that you also have a better awareness of what really ticks you. You know, did you get that? What are those egos that you're currently holding on to? What are those maybe things that upset you? A phrase, a sentence mentioned to you that you feel triggers you, because whatever your triggers are, your egos could be, behind it. And your egos would always come into play in your relationship. And when you're more aware of your egos, maybe it's the need to be right, maybe it's the need to look good, maybe it's the need to be, perfect, or to appear perfect. So if you're more aware of what your egos are, you're actually going to be more aware of how those egos are playing between the relationship, you and this other person. Because for sure, this other person will be coming into your relationship with a set of egos, with a set of pains, burdens also in the past. And the two of you will be, meeting, and your egos could be clashing. But if both of you are more aware of your own egos, then you could maybe ask yourself in the process, when things get rough, or when there are arguments or discussions, is my need to be right larger than my need to love? Is my need to look good bigger than what this relationship is? So, it's so helpful to know more about yourself in the process of you filling up your own love tank as well. Because, you're going to be putting yourself to the test. When you're in a relationship, your partner will actually bring out the best and worst side of you. And it's up to you. How are you going to deal with it, or answer, or respond to it? Are you going to react, or are you going to respond, right? So at the end of the day, the choice is really yours. So I'm wishing everyone, this self-awareness journey, this self-love journey, to be a journey that you can put your heart in, because for sure everything that you're gonna that you're hoping for, whether it's relationships, business, career, will come as just a result of you working on yourself.
Thank you, Coach Jill. That's one coming from a married woman, powerful woman. So let's listen to her. Wala naman ako may input dyan. But I'm learning and I'm taking notes. I love what you said around being authentic and asking for, or not just saying the good things, but also the things that annoy you, the things that ticks you, the things that you hate about yourself, or you don't like about yourself, or the negative things, right? You have to share it also and show yourself. And it's really about being authentic and being true. Kasi mamaya pag kinasal na kayo, doon na po malalaman lahat, right? So yeah, we have another question. Are you still okay, guys? If you want to share, just click the raise your hand button. I will be calling you later on. So our second question is, may I know what you need to do if you are in a committed relationship with a partner who keeps on degrading your worth? Ako na lang sasagot nito, hindi ko natatapusin ang tanong. It's leave this partner, okay? This is not a relationship class, but also if this person is dragging you down or degrading your worth, leave him. Period. That's it. Wala nang ibang answer, right, Coach? Right, Ayin?
Thank you, next.
Thank you, next. Yeah, and thank you, next question is how to move on from an embarrassment. Yung feeling na wala ka nang mukhang mahaharap sa lahat ng tao every time I do something good, out of nowhere, bigla ko na lang naaalala yung past. It's so hard. I lost all my confidence. Please help me. Confidence coach, Ayin and Jill here will help you. Go ahead, Ayin.
So when people ask me what my most embarrassing moment is, wala akong nasasagot. And the reason why is not because I've never made a mistake or I've never made a fool out of myself. It's more I've accepted na this is going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening throughout my life. I'm going to stumble. I'm going to have my dog talk during a 100-person webinar. I'm going to, make the wrong decision. And sometimes those things will ultimately make me feel like hindi ko na kaya harapin yung mga tao. But sometimes, so it could be two things. There's embarrassing funny, and then there's embarrassing na ayaw mo na bumalik. Dun sa embarrassing funny, I learned to laugh at myself. As in, sobrang, pagka meron akong ginawang kahiya-hiya, ina-embrace ko na parang, this is amazing kasi mukha siyang syunga, but I love this because this is a funny, exciting chapter. My life is a sitcom. It's embarrassing, but my life is funny. I like it. Now, the embarrassing na hindi mo na maharap yung ibang tao. It's, I guess, accepting that you're very, very human and we make mistakes. What we can do when we make those mistakes is to, number one, apologize, and number two, make the next best decision. Commit yourself to not making that same mistake. And that's all we can do, really. We need to accept that this happened and this is now part of our story. The question is, what do we do with it? Do we just live with it, hide it from the world, and pretend it never happened? Or turn that into a skill, turn that into a learning moment, educating yourself on how you can be better. So embarrassing moments, they're scary, and that's the reason why a lot of people are afraid to fail and try, but they happen anyway. So what we can do is just embrace them and know that they're going to happen over and over, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I love the concept of embracing them. Because actually, if you do have embarrassing moments, I'd love to congratulate you because it just goes to show that your life is full of spice. And because of those embarrassing moments, you have so many stories to tell in the future, right? It's also how you look at it. What story or what perspective are you actually choosing? In what angle do you want to see it? Right? If you have those, like what Ayin said, you have those embarrassing moments that, happened years and years ago. You've tried to be proactive, make repairs, as much as you can, do better, etc., etc. But sometimes for some of us, we can't help but really have those experiences haunt us, right? Kaway-kaway sa mga nakaka-relate. Exactly. And I remember telling myself some time ago that for me to be able to move past those, hunting experiences, I told myself, you know what, Jill, at that point in your life, you did what you felt was the best decision or the best choice at that moment. So maybe right afterwards, you realize that you could have done better, or it could have gone way, way more successful, or, in a certain direction. It doesn't matter, because at that point, I did my best. And that point, that was the best choice that I came up with. So it's really learning to just accept it for what it is, and just maybe tap yourself at the back, because at that moment, at least you did something, or you made a choice. Maybe it wasn't that ideal, but you took action one way or another, responded to it, and at that moment, it was that best, action that happened. So regardless of what the results may be right after, doesn't really matter, diba? So parang if it didn't work, it's just a feedback that it didn't work. Then let's try something else, diba? So I remember this quote. I think it was from Thomas Edison, right? It took him like 10,000 light bulbs before the correct one. And when he was being interviewed, he said, I didn't fail like 9,999 times. I just found 9,999 times that didn't work. So until I found what worked, right? So just a change of perspective and change the type of story that you tell to yourself. And maybe in the future you can find what's something funny about it, and you can even make it a funny anecdote of your life. Yeah.
Thank you, Coach Jill. Accept it for what it is and change your perspective. Again, at the end of the day, no one wants to make themselves an embarrassment, right? Meron ba dito anyone who does things para ipahiya yung sarili? I don't think so, right? And yeah, what Coach Jill said, you know that that's the best thing you can do at that moment. Or maybe that's what you think is right. That's your perspective at that time. And that doesn't make you a bad person, but maybe wrong decision. And again, it's part of being human to fail, right? And after this embarrassment, what's more important is that you know yourself. This is where self-love comes in. You know yourself, you accept yourself for being human, you accept yourself for being wrong or being embarrassed at times. Of course, as much as we don't want to, it happens. This is life. And just remove and eliminate the fear of failing. And even after that, as long as you're in good, you're coming from a good heart in doing things, then there's nothing to be embarrassed, really. Before, just to share, no, before, when I do talks, when I do speaking engagements, parang if you watch it, rewatch it, or listen to the audio after, parang, oh, I should have said this, that, nakakahiya, dapat hindi ko to shinare, right? And we have all these things all at the same time. But again, it's my way of just sharing my heart. And maybe at that time, that's what I think is good. At that time, that's what I think is the best thing to share. So that doesn't make me bad. That doesn't make, because at the end of the day, I know myself. And I didn't go there to just embarrass myself, right? Ayin, any inputs?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, I love what you guys said. And one more thing, sa another practical approach, I guess. Ito yung perspective shift for me. Na-realize ko was a truth. People don't care about us as much as we think they do. Kasi yung mga tao, busy sila sa sarili nilang issues. So if you embarrass yourself today, bukas makakalimutan nila yan. Because tomorrow, they're gonna be thinking about something else in their lives that's bothering them. And so if other people can move on about your mistakes, I'm like, okay, I'll move on from it too. I'll move on from that embarrassing moment and give myself the opportunity to be better. Makakalimutan nila yan.
Yeah, I think the best example here right now and very timely is Kim Chu, right?
Right.
People made fun of her, but what did she do? She cried, she accepted that she's human, and after, bam, she made this video, she made a collab with people, and everyone loved her for it because of her number one, authenticity. She knows what she's saying. And sabi niya nga ako mismo natawa na ako sa sinasabi ko, right?
Yeah.
And of course, yes, nakakahiya at first. People bashed her. A lot of people hated her, unfollowed her, or whatever. But at the end of the day, sabi niya lang, I know myself, and it's making me happy. And now people are happy because of this song, because of this joke that happened. And yeah, it's shifting your perspective. She said in her vlog, which I watched a couple of days ago, parang she's in this dark space thinking kakahiya. It's very embarrassing, all these things and all these comments that I'm getting, all these bashings. But when someone told her to look into the brighter side, look into the other side, that you're actually making people happy because of this. And it's a result, and maybe you're just used to create happiness and bring happiness to people's lives now and during this lockdown, right?
Correct. At the end of the day, don't take yourself too seriously. Laugh it out loud.
Correct. I love it. Okay, so we don't have time for much questions, and I got so many relationship questions here on my PM. No, guys, I'm so sorry because this is not a relationship class, but there's good news later. If you end this class well, I'll be sharing something special for next week. So yeah, any last words? Maybe I just want to get your last words, Coach Jill and then Ayin, before we close this.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations for everybody, right? For joining this session. It's really you working on yourself, you taking that conscious decision that happiness is me. Happiness is my decision. It's my choice to find that joy, that bliss in life. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, for your questions, for your comments. I love the energy, and I'm so excited with Yanni's next episode for next week, because I'm sure that everyone whose questions didn't get answered this afternoon definitely will be answered by then.
Thank you, Coach Jill. Ayin, go ahead. Last words.
Yeah, so thank you so much to everyone who joined and stayed until right now. It's been such a fruitful discussion. I've been looking at your messages. You guys, just by being here, you're already investing in yourself. And this is one really good way to love yourself. And I guess to just wrap what we talked about up, I wanted to remind everyone that self-love is not selfish. A lot of people seem to think that, but it's not. We owe it to ourselves to be our own best friend. We owe it to ourselves to try, and we owe it to ourselves to be full of love. Because when we love ourselves enough, then we get to love others better. When we love others better, we build better relationships. And when that happens, we become happy. And that's what we want. So
Thank you. Amazing, Coach Jill and Ayin. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, for sharing your insights, your stories, and answering the questions of people. So give me this opportunity that if you have questions for Ayin and Coach Jill, you can actually contact them in this. Just take a photo of it. Sorry, not that one. Here's Ayin's. Okay, take a photo. 1, 2, 3. And then, of course, Coach Jill. Follow them, ask them questions, PM, DM, whatever that is. Tweet them if they have Twitter. Comment on YouTube and connect with them and connect with us. I just want to thank everyone who attended today's webinar, and see you next week. Again, I just want to plug. Here's the plug and here's the surprise. Next week, we will have relationship goals with no other than Joyce Spring herself and Rocco Nasino, who will be joining us and sharing their insights on relationship building, on self-love, and how you do it in a relationship, how you practice it when you're in a relationship. So we are gonna be getting insights from these people. And of course, again, just to plug, please join. If you like this kind of culture, please join our group. Oops, wait. Please join our group here. Ayan. Okay, holistic entrepreneurs. Again, we envision a world where every leader is blissful and abundant, and we will be doing a lot of seminars like this and webinars exclusive for the group. So make sure to join that. My team will be checking and accepting you guys and admitting you guys in. We'll be announcing all the next learning sessions there, and all the networking opportunities, if there are any, to connect to people like Ayin and Coach Jill, and of course yours. Okay. And just to plug again, my invitation is, of course, share your learnings and follow me, leave a recommendation on our Facebook pages, follow me, tweet me, give me a feedback on how your experiences from today, and also what topics do you want to learn in the next couple of weeks, because I think I have prepared a couple of good topics in the next weeks, and I need more. So if you have any topics in mind, message me, DM me, leave it in my recommendation page on Facebook, and I'll listen to it and try to look for the best speakers in that. And again, just to close this, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. And I hope to see you guys again next week. Again, thank you so much, Coach Jill. Thank you, Ayin, for saying yes again to me, kayong dalawa, suking-suki, to my team, and this community. Thank you for letting me build this team and this community. Again, thank you so much, guys, for attending. And if you like this, please post a photo, tag us. We'll appreciate it. Maybe on your story or you're on your feed, tag us, add us on Facebook if you want. We're very friendly and approachable, and maybe we can have more conversations in this group, in this community about this. So yeah, thank you so much and have a good day, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Congrats, Coach Jill.
Thank